Hello everyone, today we're going to show you how to make one of these labels. It may seem daunting at first to put the whole thing together and process it and whatnot, but we're going to teach you step by step on how to make these suckers so that you can become a pro at them. So let's get started. Okay, so now that we've sat down at the computer, first things first, we're going to go to the File Explorer here, click on this PC. And the first thing we're going to check is if the drives are connected. We're looking for the T and the Z drives. Now if they're there, we can move on to the next step, but if not, we're going to go up here to Map Network Drive, click on it, and this window should appear. So the Z drive is already selected there, but if it's not, we want to click on that first. Click the next drop down, click on Firm Data. It's in big letters here. Then we're going to go ahead and click on Finish. A window should pop up, letting us know that we are indeed connected. We can close out of this, and now that we see the Z drive is now officially connected. And we're just going to repeat the same process for the T drive. Again, clicking on Map Network Drive, selecting the drop-down menu, clicking on T, except this time we're going to click on Database right here. So they should be the first two at the top there. Clicking on Finish, this window will pop up. Good to go. Exit out of that. We now have the T and the Z drives connected. At this point, we can move on then to the next step, which is going to be actually going into and launching the ColorBar application. So we're going to click on Internet Explorer now. We can maximize this, wait for it to load, and now we're going to go up here to the top left and click on ColorBar Express Sign-In. You don't need credentials, it should already be filled out for you, as you can see, and we're just going to click on Sign In, and then simply click on Click Here. At this point, it'll do its thing, and then the ColorBar Express application will now be launched. So now we are here, and we can see there is a list of things right here. So now on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll be able to see it's a quick reference guide essentially to what case type correlates to what in ColorBar. For example, EOIR is for court. So select the appropriate text there for the corresponding case. Now, what if you don't see your case? Well, what we're gonna do next here is gonna come down here and select Open Design. Now, this window will pop up and it'll give you the last previously used design. We're going to go up here at the top here, click on ColorBar, and this will take us back to a list of folders that ColorBar is going to use. Now, in this instance, say if we're looking for VAWA, we would come down here, just click on VAWA, and then click on the PDF little icon there, double click on it, and it should load up like this. We can now close out of the Internet Explorer as we no longer need it, and we can maximize the ColorBar window here now. So what if you don't see ColorBar? You launch it and it looks like this. There's two ways to do it. You can come up here, click on View, and then click on Data Grid, and then we'll pop up. And another quicker way to do it, you see this in the top left where the mouse was. I'm going to exit out. You're just going to click that data grid that is right there, and then that's how you can get the grid to view. All right, so now we're going to go down here to allow editing. We're going to check that checkmark box. Click in the middle of the pane here, and that's going to sort it by counter. So it'll be a list of things labeled 1, 2, whatever the most recent label was made. All right, so to create a new label, we're going to go up here to the top left where it says department. We're going to click on that box and we get the blinking little stick. And VAWA, that's the department. For all intents and purposes, I'm just going to do Johnny Appleseed. So last name Appleseed, first name is Johnny. And then I'll select the open date. And by the way, I'm using tab, the tab key to just progress forward here so you don't have to click. The top code, I just use whatever was previously made. As you can see, W, so I'll just do W for that. And then the barcode here, I'm always going to do VAWA. And then I look at the barcodes and I see it's 40, so I'm going to do 0000. And then just to insert that new label into the table, I'm going to click anywhere and scroll down, and you can see the new label has been made. Johnny Appleseed. All right, so now that this is all made well and good, and that's selected, I'm going to go up here to File, click on Print. And then this one will pop up. Now, if you're doing one, it's going to select on all. We don't want that. That'll print everything in the color bar table. We're just going to click on selection to give us the one that we have selected. Now we're going to click on preview page layout, and this page will now pop up. Alrighty, so now that we're at this point and we're ready to actually get down where the magic actually happens in printing the labels. So as we saw in the preview page layout page, say that 10 times. So as you can see, this is the sheet where we're going to print these labels, right? On the back it says color bar. Pretty fitting. Where we can find these is in the clerk room. It's the second drawer down. And there should be a good stack in here. If you don't see them, go to whoever handles the supplies. They should be able to get that for you. But they should always be in here, no matter what. But if not, just keep that in mind. You won't have to worry so much about seeing if this is all right, because what we essentially want to do is match this printer page, this label page, if you will, with the actual preview page layout that's on color bar. Okay, and so right here we can see we're good to go, right? We have 3 that are filled and 4 that are used. And then we see here 3 filled, 4 used. Now if this isn't the case, right, and as I've previously shown, you can always move those around to match here. And when in doubt, you can always just get a new page, clear used labels and do it that way, but it might be a little headachy after that, because then you have multiple sheets that, you know, aren't adding up so much, because typically when you reach for a new sheet, you want to make sure it's brand new. All right, so anyway, now that we have this done, we're going to go ahead and actually print. So we're going to click OK. Now, before we click on print, if I clicked on print now, well, how is it going to print a label? Maybe through magic, it'll, but no. So before we do that, so the preview page layout, it showed that, you see it's like this, okay? So we want to line it up like this, and then all we're going to do really is just turn it 180 degrees and then place it in the Lexmark. And that's it. And then we come back and hit on print. So let's go ahead and insert it in the Lexmark over here. Right. All right, so this is the Lexmark. Make sure it's on and working. We're good to go in that regard. And yeah, so we have this 180 degrees from the preview page layout. And all we're gonna do is just open the sucker up and slide it in, make sure it's nice and flat. Close it like that, and we're good to go. So now all we're gonna do is just click on print. If this shows up, just click no. It should already be aligned for you. And we're going to wait for it to print. All right, so now that it's printed, as you can see, printed correctly and according to that preview page layout. So we did a good job. All right, so now we're going to actually focus on getting the label on the actual Manila folder. So all we're going to do is we're going to take it off, and it works just like a sticker, right? You bend a little bit, see the corner, then take it off like so. We're done with the label sheet for now. We can set that aside. So now, as we can see here, there are 2 little black bars, as you can see on the sides there. And what those bars do is they're going to be your guide, and they're going to go on the edges of the folder. So now that we got the label out, I pretty much take 2 fingers, make sure you spread it out just a little bit. You don't want to apply too much pressure, right? Because otherwise you're going to snap it in half. Then we have to do it over again. So just a little bit of pressure to make sure it's nice and even. And then I like to pull it out a little bit so that I'm not interfering with the desk. Then all we're going to do is just line it up like so. Really take your time with this, because it can be tricky. And like I said in the intro to this video, in this training, it may take a little bit of practice, but always take your time. We can always move it around. Very hard to take it away though. So all right, so now that we got it aligned, it looks pretty good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to prep the label for folding. What do I mean by that? What I'm going to do is just make a nice fold down, but not all the way. If I were to do a fold all the way, either one or 2 things can happen. One, it'll end up just fine. Nothing will happen. Maybe a little few loose ends here and there, or tight ends. Or 2, you could overdo the label or underdo the label, and that's not what we want. We want to try and make the labels nice and even so that they look pretty, and they're just nice and even and easier to see in the file room. So all right, so now that this has happened, here's what I do for the pre-fold. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take really my two thumbs, start in the center, and work to the sides, right? And kind of just getting it ready to fold like that. So just nice and across, as you can see, that's the edge right there. And don't worry about the black bars being perfect. We want them close. If it's just off a little bit, that's fine, as long as it's close. All right, so now that we have that pre-folded, it's just as simple as getting it down like so, and then just sliding it across. And then looking on the back, we can see that it did it pretty nice. All right, so now that we've created our label, now it's time to move on and show you some other useful tips and tricks within Color Bar. And we're gonna kind of move on to creating multiple labels. And we're gonna do that in the CP department. Well, how do we get from VAWA to CP? Well, instead of closing the application completely and then relaunching it, then picking CP, we're gonna do something else. We're gonna go up here to File. We're gonna click on Open Design. And first, you wanna make sure that you save your changes, unless you don't want to. If you were just mucking around in Color Bar for whatever reason, you wanna click on No. But in this instance, I'm going to click on Yes, because I do wanna save it, okay? So this one will pop up. Let's click on Color Bar at the top. It'll bring us that folder list like we saw in the beginning. We'll go on CP and double click on the PDF little file here. And now we have jumped to CP. All right, so now that we're here, we're gonna go ahead and start making our labels happen. Now this is useful if you have multiple labels that you need to do. For instance, I'm just gonna make 4. So like if I have 4 files, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And again, very, very useful to have. So I'm gonna go up here to allow editing, make sure that's checked. And then we're gonna start here. As you can see, this is an open pane. We're gonna go over that in a little bit later in the video about open panes and what to do with them. But since this is here, I'm going to use it right away. So I'm gonna go and type in the CP. I'm gonna use Johnny Appleseed once again, and some other rather creative names going forward. And I'm gonna insert his wife, Margaret, as well. And again, gonna put in the open date. And following the structure of the top code, I'm gonna put A, and then CP. We're in the quadruple digits now, so 2 zeros, and then the counter number. And then I'm clicking away from it. As you can see, that label is now in Color Bar. And now just to create multiple labels, you'll just do what you normally do, is start at the top here, where it's gonna give us our new label, and I'm gonna do George Harrison. A little creative name there. And then his wife, well, we have Margaret, so let's go ahead and do Martha. And I'm going to go ahead and just fill in 2 other names as well. You don't need to see the process repeated, it's pretty straightforward, so I will see you in a sec. Alright, so now that we're here, so you got Johnny Appleseed, George Harrison with Martha, John Lennon with John Lemon, and then Alan Craig and Michael Faust, just names that just came to mind. And I'll select everything that you want in between those 2 panes. I'm going to go up here to print, make sure selection is checked. As you can see, number of labels to print is 4. And again, if I click on all, we don't want 1,904 labels to print, so make sure selection's on. I'm going to go to the preview page layout here. As you can see, I only have 3 available labels to make. Now, you could do this. You can click OK and print, and it's only going to give you the 3, but you're also going to go ahead and have to print another one. But what I like to do is I just like to clear use labels when this happens. Okay, so then we have 4, they'll all come out. And if we have 2 label sheets that are used, that's fine. This is just the most efficient way to do it. Another quick little tip that you can do is you can also, if you have a blank sheet and you want to get all 4 on that sheet, of the one that we were just viewing, you can always peel a label off and put one on again. And then you'll have 4 labels on there. So after that, we click OK, and then we're now able to go ahead and print. All right, so multiple labels are done, and now I'm going to show you and tell you a little bit more about open panes and what to do in that scenario. Say if you were scrolling down and you see all this open area here, that's in FPI, you want to make sure when you're scrolling down is when we click on allow editing and then sorting by counter in the top left. When we're going down, we want to make sure that we are filling in those empty panes. And the reason we want to do that is color bar doesn't know when a label is filled or not. It just understands panes. If a pane is there, then it's going to count it as a label. So all these used panes in here, we're going to need to fill out. So I wouldn't automatically scroll all the way down to the bottom and make a new label. You have to go by the panes. And so as I'm scrolling down, I can see, just for example, here, I can see these are empty panes. And so we want to go ahead and fill those in, okay? And if you're doing this and there's multiple panes across multiple 1,000 indentation marks, like 1,000, 2,000, etc., it's a great idea to write these down, the number of the counter. Like for this instance, it's 142. And that'll just give you an indication of, hey, this label is at this counter. And so I'm also just going to do Johnny Appleseed and Margaret Appleseed for this example again, just filling it out. And sometimes the panes will already be filled in for you in terms of the top code, barcode, department. Okay, so with FBI, we can generally fill it out if it's just that kind of a case. But I usually like to do FOIAs first. So you could do FBI/FOIA, but I found that it's just easier to do FOIA/FBI, and you can do that on the FOIA color bar spreadsheet. But it's up to your discretion. All right, so now what if I wanted to do 2 of these? Well, first I want to click the one that I want, Johnny Appleseed, and then I'm just going to hold down left control and left click on it. Now, if I was to do shift, as we saw in the previous example, it would select everything in between those 2. But control is going to give you, well, control. And then all we have to do is just go up here to file, print. And as you can see, selection is already checked. Number of labels to print 2, perfect. Preview page layout, and those 2 show up. And you can move it around as need be. Remember, clicking will take away a label, and clicking in an empty label pane will create a new one. And yeah, that's pretty much how you make a label. The folder should already have stuff. Obviously, I'm using this just as an example. But pretty much that's how it is. And then once the label is created, then we can start moving on with the case process itself. But that's it.